Hello, everybody. Welcome to Echo Underground. I'm Shanique.
This is Mike.
And on this podcast, we talk about music, TV shows, and movies, and any other interesting topics. So, I think today's episode is going to be about the Netflix original movie, Death Note.
Death Notes.
Which is based on the anime with the same title. So, alright, I'm going to give my rating. I'm actually going to have 2 ratings. So, if you never saw the anime, I would give this movie a solid B-. Solid B-. If you saw the anime and you go into this movie, I'm gonna give it a C or a C-. One of those. And like for me, there were a lot of things I didn't understand was happening. I didn't think the ending made sense. I actually think it's interesting. It has some very good components, but I think they need to expand it on it a little bit more. And I didn't really get attached to like the characters as I should be. So when like this dramatic thing happened, which we're going to talk about, and by the way, there will be spoilers later in the podcast, I didn't feel as much. Like I knew this person was mad, upset, but I didn't really get in my feelings for that person because I wasn't really attached to the character. And other than that, I just felt like a lot of stupid things happened. Like it didn't make, like I understand plot devices. I completely understand that. But this one was just like a whole bunch of plot devices instead of organic storytelling. So that was my issue. But it's a decent movie, like unless you compare it to the source material. Then it's like, What about you? What did you think?
See, I'm in a weird spot because I feel like I have to have 2 podcasts. Like one saying, because I'm when I see like movies based on like other source material from comic books or like other past TV shows or past movies, I'm holding it to a pretty high standard because remakes have a pretty bad reputation of not being very good. And the reason I'm saying it might be 2 podcasts is because I'm like, on one hand I want to like keep it true to the original source material. On the other hand, I'm trying to look at it as its own standalone movie. And if I were to come, like you said, you give him a C- and a B-, something like that.
Yeah.
I would give, if I was to compare it to the original anime, an absolute failing grade of F. That is how I feel. If I was to this as a standalone movie, a C-. I'm a little harsh on this movie for a bunch of reasons. You're right, plot devices were everywhere, which kind of sucked. Nothing was really organic. I didn't get attached to anybody, but maybe for a while, like I honestly only got attached to Light's dad. Because I feel like he was.
Oh, I didn't give a shit about it.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. See, he was under wraps about everything going on behind him, and he's probably like the only guy, like, except for maybe like one part, like acting more or less rationally. Everyone else was just like acting on impulse and emotion and stuff like that. Which I hate to say it, but compared to the regular anime, that's not what the 2 main characters did. Like I don't know. Light was supposed to be an intellectual, but I feel like he only had like 1 point-ish. Anyways, we'll get to that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like as a standalone, this movie was like it started off interestingly. Like it did a good job introducing things without giving you too much detail. Because if they did, then you'd need like a 4-hour movie. Because there's that much lore behind the Death Note. There's like a bunch, like 100 and something rules in there or something like that. It's a lot to keep up with. But yeah, it was interesting. One good thing I will give this movie, the one character that I will probably come back and say nothing but good things about really is Ryuk. Now I think this movie did one thing justice, and did it really, really freaking well, and that's Ryuk. As far as like CGI goes, sure, it's not ideal, but the voice actor behind him, how close he was to his character, was probably the closest to their original character more than anybody else in the show. It was kept close to the original character, should I say. But yeah, that's where I'm at with this movie.
Okay. Well, okay. So I'm gonna get into the changes. Like, so from the anime, here's the thing. Light is still, he doesn't, like in the movie, Light just seems like an ordinary teenager who starts tripping and gets a god complex because he gets this Death Note, which if anyone never seen the anime, it's basically a book where you could just write people's name down and kill them, essentially.
Yep.
And they have death gods, or how you say it?
Shinigami.
Yeah, that like write people's names down and kill them, but sometimes humans can get a hold of it and do the same thing. And that's essentially what the movie's about. And basically he gets in over his head and shit goes crazy. But he kind of comes out at the top on the end. So, by the way, there will be spoilers. I know I said in the beginning.
A little bit of a cliffhanger about the end, but yeah, we'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah. So, we're going to do what we normally do. Favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my favorite is Elle. Now,
interesting.
Here's why. Just like one thing I think this movie did get right, Elle still loves his sugar. Just like he did in the anime. Too, he's still weird as fuck. Just like he is in the anime. And I think he's actually intelligent, but he's too emotional.
Yeah.
That's the only, like, main difference. And besides, he's black. We can know the part that he's black and wears, like, a weird shit over his...
Right.
I mean, he still... And, like, he hides his face. And, like... Also, he apparently belonged to some secret organization that, like, you have to travel underground to figure out what his name is. That part, I don't remember from the original anime series. But I never finished it. So, maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed some developments. Did I miss something? Or that in the anime?
I'm actually not familiar with that either, to be honest.
That drew me off. What is it? Wartardy, I think it was?
Yeah.
He's like Elle's keeper, and I like their relationship. And also, maybe in the anime we would have saw Elle get more emotional if something happened to that guy in the anime. But I don't remember anything happening to that guy in the anime.
Something does happen.
I don't remember. But Elle lost his shit. And I like because he was smart. He saw through Light's bullshit immediately. And he was focused on point. Actually, we're going to get to favorite scenes later. But Elle, to me, was the only character that didn't really annoy me. Because I accept that he was different. I accept that he was different from the anime character. I still like that they showed that he was intelligent. Could he been more smart? Sure, but I think because Light wasn't as smart as he was in the anime, they didn't make Elle, like, even smarter. Like, he was definitely smarter than Light in the movie. Like, he kind of was supposed to, because he figured it out. But since Light was kind of an ordinary teenager who, like, you know, had his moments in the movie where he showed intelligence, especially, like, at the end.
Mm-hmm, I agree. At the end, definitely where I thought he shone for the most. He
thought under, like, what did you call it? He had a time limit. He came up with a plan and executed it really well. So he showed that he could be smart. And I wish they kind of, like, put more in that. But I don't think there was one part of this movie where they didn't show that Elle kind of figured out things. Obviously, we skipped some investigation part. Yeah. He kind of knew everything when we finally was introduced to him. But he was still very intelligent. And they kept that aspect of him. I think they just didn't make him as smart as the anime because his counterpart wasn't as smart.
I can agree with that.
But, like, overall, Elle was probably one of my favorite parts of the anime. And oddly enough, so was Mia. Even though she was, like, she's not Misa. She's a different character. I don't know who she's supposed to be. A
whole different character now.
I don't even think she's supposed to be Misa because, like, yeah.
I think so.
Honestly, here's a theory I have about. I was gonna save it, but I think like Light and Mia in the movie are kind of like the two sides you saw of Kira in the anime. Mm-hmm. Because she had all the ideas that Kira had from the anime. She thought things through. She like came up with the idea to kill the cops and everything. And then all the times that she saw Light being nice or slightly manipulative, that was also like. So it's kind of like they split Light into two characters and made them a weird couple, which, hey, I guess. You know, I'm not going to tell them, but that's what it feels like. It feels like they cut Misa out completely because they didn't show Rem. And they just split Light into two people who contrast and still wanted to use the Death Note. That was my theory about why I kind of like Mia. Hate her. It's kind of like how I feel about Kira. He's more likable to me when he's nicer. And that's like Kira / Light, whatever. But they did keep to the theme that it was two Kiras. Because Mia and him were both fighting and killing people.
I guess.
They kind of kept to that theme.
Yeah, like, very subtly, but yeah, that's what they're aiming for.
And like, if my theory's right, then they kept Light, but they split him up into two characters, which I thought was a little weird. But there were times where he showed that he could be kind of like the anime. Like, when he was walking up to Mia at the dance and had that look. It reminded me of the scene in the anime where he finally found out that girl's name. And and made that face, it kind of reminded me of that. There were moments, but I thought Mia was more like the dark side of Light, and then Light himself was like, oh, okay, a little bit manipulative, like he was, but still had nicer moments. That's my theory. I don't know if you agree, but that's how I saw it too.
I can see that, especially because like this movie took like so many creative liberties that like the formula was changed, but like kept subtly just to let you know that this is still based on Death Note, but this is essentially a new story. Like it's the original story wasn't based so strongly around like a high school setting, pretty much, and even though I agree with that, Light and Mia are two sides of Light in the anime, there was still a third side of him that was just a straight up idiot. At no point did Light ever think to himself, I'm going to use one, the Death Note in public, and two, tell somebody I have this Death Note. And this is the one place the movie that kind of bugged me with the pacing. Like, the girl saw that he could kill people, and all of a sudden they were fucking. I was like, well, what the fuck is this? The pacing. I mean, I get it. It's a 2-hour.
They did a montage though, so it was supposed to seem like there's been a lot of time.
I mean, I guess, but like they pretty much started going out the same night. When he was awkward and saying, "Hey, can I kiss you?" and all that. Like, that's the first time she came up to the house, so they can like go kill some more people, I guess. And I don't know the high school theme. I guess like I know a lot of times when animes come to America.
Babe, who's your favorite character? Never answered the question.
Oh, I already did. I said Ryuk.
Oh, I thought that was just part of like...
No. Okay, I'm sorry. You could have just told me that before. Like, yeah, Ryuk's my favorite character. Like, he's the one guy who like kept as close as possible to the source. The only thing that was really different about him was that he is in this movie. He was like he actually had like an integral part in like tearing down the Ferris wheel at the end. And Ryuk has no involvement with human world activities, pretty much. And that's I don't know.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about that. I thought the movie was implying that anytime an accident happened, like if they chose accidental death, that the Shinigami was the one doing it. That's what I thought the movie was implying.
Maybe I can see that, but they only showed it the one time instead of like the other bunch of times that they could have showed it. They showed it in the one scene versus like the 400 other people.
But I thought it was for like dramatic purposes.
Maybe
because most of even though one thing I give this movie, the most goriest death. Like, when those people, like, jumped off the building and went... Yeah.
I thought fuck? In my head, I thought they were going to cut away from, like, the splash. And, like, nope, they kept the splash in the movie. Good job, movie. You're right. I will give them that. They kept the movie colorful. A lot more colorful, in fact, than the anime, actually. Because I feel like the anime never got this level of gore.
Yeah, he killed most people by heart attack in the anime.
Yeah, which is another creative liberty that they took. They just decided to skim over that one rule. Like, I always figured, because, what Ryuk said, so I can't really fault him. Even though it was in the rules, if you don't write it down, they're just gonna die by heart attack. But in this movie was called Dealer's Choice, where it's like whatever random way I feel like killing them, I guess. Like when Wataru died, he just got killed by gunfire instead of a heart attack. But another thing I like about Ryuk as well is the subtle appearances of him. Like for the most of the movie, his face was either like completely in darkness or blurred out. We could kind of just make out how fucking ugly he was. Because I kind of figured if they're going to put him in live action, this guy has got to be hideous. And they nailed it. He was not a pretty face. Like, there are still a couple of scenes where, like, you see his whole face in light. I mean, like, I know actual light, not the character light. But yeah, like, you actually see his face. And, yeah, the teeth, the wideness of his smile, the way his mouth never shuts. Yep. They kept him ugly. And I feel like they did that amazingly. Leather pants and all.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't flying around with the wings or whatever, but fuck it. I think they did so well that I can't even complain about it anymore. But yeah, he's my favorite character in the movie. Not as much involvement that I thought he would have, because the involvement that he did have was kind of like out of left field. And I do like that he was more of a problem for Light at a point, because like, he saw Mia using the book and never said a thing.
I don't think Ryuk in the anime would tell him either.
I mean, I don't think so either, but like at no point in the anime was Ryuk ever like a problem for Light. It was just interesting to see him play this role. Though. Yeah, he talk a lot of shit, yeah.
And just watch and laugh, which he did a lot of that in the movie. They got his laugh right.
Yeah, definitely. His laugh, his voice actor, I'm telling you, man, they did Ryuk right. But yeah, that's my favorite character. We can move on to the next one.
All right. So there's a couple things. The main thing I really hate about, well, I'll get my favorite scene. Oddly enough, my favorite scene of this movie is the dinner scene where L's like tired of his bullshit because Watari goes missing, and he's so pissed that he walks into the Light's father's house, hops on the chair, which I don't even know. That guy, you got mad hops if you can like hop that close and get on the chair and not even fall.
Yeah.
Hops on the chair and said, "Where's my nigga?" Basically, that's basically he was like. He was pissed. He was in his feelings. He was threatening him, and the dad choked him out too.
Yeah.
Even though I think Light is supposed, I mean not Light, L's supposed to have like martial art background. He kind of showed it a little bit, which in that chase scene with Light towards the end, where he did the dumbest shit. Why did he hop on the table twice? Yeah. I don't get that part.
Yeah.
I guess it was for effect. But you could tell he has a little bit of martial art training. They never fully use it because, honestly, this is not the whole series. Like, this Death Note thing, I think maybe they're trying to hold out for part 2, but this Death Note thing was maybe, I don't know, the first 15 episodes, if that.
Yeah,
it seems
they definitely didn't get even very. Yeah, they didn't get very far into the actual material. That's probably why it's so condensed. That they got to like pick one specific part of the story and then like mold it into something that they can fit in 2 hours.
And also like I don't see how the second part will happen.
Yeah, definitely
with the corporation and stuff. I don't see that happening, and especially after the way L acted after what he did to his mentor or his caregiver. I don't know what his role truly is, but. After that, but that dinner scene was my favorite. It caught my attention. I was like, man, L is spazzing the fuck out. Mm-hmm. And he's like, nah, I got my search warrant shit. I'm ready for you. And like, he didn't even care that dad was choking him. He was like, you did it. And I love the acting actually in that scene. But it was so un-L-like. Yeah. That's a good... They made L in this more humanized, if that's the right word. Is that the right word? I
say they made him way more edgy. Like, he had a whole hood and face, like we talked about earlier, the whole hood and face mask thing, and like, he was using guns. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, he's doing chases.
That's because he was public. Pissed. Yeah, that's because he got pissed.
I mean, yeah, I get that. That's the reason he's edgy, because he's also almost as emotional as Light, was.
He was fine.
But for a different reason.
Yeah, he was fine until his friend got like, went bye-bye. And then he was like, nigga! And like, went full on Super Saiyan and Hulk mode to get Light. He got real lucky. Light got real lucky that they like worshipped Kira.
Yeah.
But, what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene, as absurd as I think the scene is, it's actually still my favorite though. But it was actually the Ferris wheel scene where like Light takes a gamble of whether or not Mia takes the book back and whether or not she's gonna die. I like how everything played after that minus the soundtrack. Like the song that played right there just like took me out of it for a second. I was like, what the fuck? Are you playing Chicago right now? But yeah, I thought that was cool because it was kind of like the apex of the movie. I feel like they did a pretty good job with even though I think Mia was a crazy bitch, she was a really good crazy bitch to watch on in the movie. Like, she got power hungry. Like you said, it's the power hungry satellite in the anime, and I definitely agree with that. And then even though we had like a little confusion about why she'd want official relinquishment of the book, I put that to the back of my mind for this scene because I feel like, things actually came to a head. People were actually going to die. Like, her name was in the book, his name was in the book, and this is where, Light's intelligence shown because, like we said before, this was the scene where it's like, he planned ahead. Back when he was getting chased into high school, he wrote down a whole bunch of things that, if Mia took this book and, this would happen. Like, she would die,
okay, but
my name would get burned, and then I would get saved, and my book would get saved, and these two guys would kill themselves.
Here's the thing. So, maybe I need to understand how the Death Note works in this movie. Because did he write if she takes the book, or did he write did she takes the book? Because if he said, she takes the book.
I think, you see, that's another thing I forgot to mention earlier too, before the podcast. I don't know if the Death Note works on like ifs. Like, what do I call it? Conditionals. You should know about that. Like, conditional statements.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, did he write?
No, it was if. It was definitely an if. It was certainly an if. If she takes it back, then all this shit would have a chain reaction.
Oh, okay.
But that's confusing though, because like you usually can't say if in a death note. In a death note, like everything is final in a death note. There's no condition behind it. Like this is gonna happen, and that's no question.
What I was kind of confused because it didn't seem like he. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but it doesn't seem like he put if. It said that she takes it in this blah blah blah. But if you write that she takes it, then that's what she's going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if he did write an if, then the ending makes sense. But if he actually says she takes the book, then she had no control over her actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
So I don't know. I don't remember the if, but maybe I'm wrong. You
see, I think the
ending don't make sense.
The ending definitely doesn't make sense. But one, I do want to fact check it though, because I don't know if you can even write if in the death note or now. Like now that you mentioned, I'm like, I know a part of the statement was written out off. But I know I saw the word if in there, which is kind of weird because if it was light and she did not take it back, then he had no way out. That's my thing. If she actually said, yeah, I love you, and didn't steal the book back and everything works out, they're going to come back to the bottom of that freaking Ferris wheel and just get shot up.
No. They weren't after him.
Yeah, they were.
That was L.
Yeah, and then all the police showed up to get him down.
No. Remember, his father called and was like, stop L and protect my son. Mm-hmm. That's why they were chasing the son, to protect him. They weren't chasing him to arrest him. Oh. They had no proof he was Kira at that point. He had a way out.
Either way, I don't think it would be that easy. I don't think if they come.
You think L would shoot him in front?
I'm not going to think L's going to shoot him, but I feel like, because the clout that he has within the agencies or whatever, that they're going to say, oh, L says this guy's a bad guy, so we got to go start questioning him some more now.
I mean, yeah, but they weren't he wasn't being chased by the police. He was only being chased by L at the end of the movie.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but now I'm just saying, I don't think it would.
I don't think he would have died in that moment.
Maybe not died, but
he would have had. The story would have got
more complicated.
Yeah. I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
the movie's pretty long anyway. But yeah, the ending to me doesn't make sense because when if you would just watch the ending. And then you'll be fine. But if you actually think about things, it doesn't make sense. Because one thing I was talking to Michael about is how the Death Note works in the movie. Because I don't particularly fully understand it.
Yeah, I think it's a different Death Note from the anime, definitely.
One, anyone could write in it. Apparently. So it doesn't matter if Light owns it or not. Mm-hmm. And then, Mia had the book in her hand. She didn't even have to give it to Light. She could have lied and said, oh, I don't know what a book is. Right? And then kept it. But then now I'm thinking of another thing. Because Light didn't have it for 7 days, right? Would he take it from Mia?
I think it would be Mia's at that point, is what I think. If you lose for a certain amount of time, whoever stole it from you, it's just theirs. Okay, so all she had to do was just keep it. But what she did instead was gave him back the book. Told him, I'm going to kill you unless you give me the book. And that was it. And I'm like, but dude, if you just kept the book, you would be alive. Well, he might be dead, but you'll at least be alive. I don't think they were that. You see, this is where it comes in with their intellect. There's a bunch of rules in the first bunch of pages in the book. And, Light read a few of them, sure. He did pay attention to some very specific ones. But he didn't pay attention to how ownership of the book works when it's passed on, which is one of the things I feel like I don't know if it's a creative liberty that they took with the movie, but they definitely didn't explain, hey, this is what happens if the book is stolen, because already the rules are different. Anyone can just write in the book, and even though someone can have the book, they didn't see Ryuk like I mentioned earlier, which is kind of weird.
And also another thing, Ryuk made a comment about the last time someone wrote in the book.
I know what you're about to say, yeah.
They only got to 2 letters.
Right.
I didn't know you could write the Shinigami name in the book. Because at least in the anime, didn't the Shinigami have to fall in love?
Yeah.
Prevent the death to die?
Mm-hmm.
So, in this movie, you can write their name in the book?
Apparently, because here's another thing the movie didn't explain. Someone did write Ryuk's name in the book. He read it before and said, hey, don't trust Ryuk, he is not your friend or some shit like that. Who the fuck wrote that then?
Oh, that's true. In the margin.
Right. You said no one could write your name. Someone clearly got more than 2 letters in, so I'm just saying. He was pretty, don't get me wrong, Ryuk was pretty intimidating when he was explaining that part, and I thought that was really cool. But that rule doesn't really apply because someone already wrote your name.
Is it because in the margin? That's why he, I don't think you can kill him. Like, they never explain whether you can kill him. They never explain why this person tried to write his name. Like, I'm confused so much by, like... Overall, my biggest issue is, besides, take away the whole anime. They never explain the mythology correctly.
That's very true.
If not, it's like you can't figure out what you can and can't do. Like, they never explained that. I don't think they fully explained what Ryuk was. He just fucking appeared and like was like,
I'm here. Here's a book. Go kill people. Have fun. Yeah.
There's no real explanation of who he was. You know, they never explain like
why drop the book here, or you know, if there's other Shinigami, other Death Notes out there.
Did they actually say what he was? Because I don't even remember.
He said he's a death god, but didn't get any more specific than that.
Yeah, but they actually say he was a Shinigami. They never used
the word. Death god is in English word for Shinigami. That's what it is.
Yeah, but like, this movie's not set in Japan.
I know, that's why they're saying death god, because like it's just the English word for it. That's just translation. That's it.
Yeah, but like Americans are not gonna like think of that.
Well, yeah, you're right. Okay, I see. Like he won't know what that means. Like, oh, you're just some kind of ghost guy who's a death god. Apparently, I don't know. Like, if I'm an American, I saw that, I would don't know what a death god is. Like,
they don't explain the mythology behind the story, and that's my biggest pet peeve with this movie. I can get over the whole Mia and Light thing. I can get over that, but the fact that you don't explain the mythology behind the movie. That makes the Notebook make no sense.
It leaves a lot of questions unanswered. Like, you know, now we can start asking questions about like, hey, how can anyone write in the book? What happens if the book is destroyed or stolen? Like I told you earlier. You know, why can't I write your name in the book? You know, like, well, then again, it did say you can only write humans' name in the book. Very first rule: the humans whose name is written in this note will die. So I guess it doesn't really apply to death gods anyway. So I don't know why that wasn't explained.
Yeah, and then why he made that comment then?
Yeah, and why someone, you know, who it's crazy too, because like usually when the book is passed on, all documentation of other names in the book disappear. It just starts as a blank slate. Because when you lose the book, you lose your memory of having the book. But for some reason, the last ones were there. The notes were still there, and I don't know if this one book had just been recycled across a whole bunch of people. But I don't know. It was like I said, the lore, like you said before, lore wasn't explained, and it leaves a lot of questions. So.
Yeah, and that makes the movie confusing. Because then you don't understand what's not allowed, what is allowed. Actually, oddly enough, one good scene, which is not something, at least I remember from the anime, is when Light's in the hospital, and his dad figures it out. I don't know if that happens in the anime or not, because I didn't get that far, but from what I saw, I like that scene, oddly enough. I don't know if I was his father, what would I do? If I found out that my son was a serial killer? But I actually like that reveal, and it was towards the end. I like the twist of how Light saved his own life. I like that twist.
I definitely like that. That's probably my favorite part of Light's character in the entire movie.
I like that too. Even though, I didn't know you could write how the note gets burned. I didn't know you could write that part. That's
also interesting. Very good question. I actually don't know if you can even do that. That's very true. Because that means you got to save someone's life. The note can't really impact whether or not someone lives or dies. So that's a very interesting loophole. That's a very interesting loophole. I actually don't know.
That goes back to my point. Like, they never explain how the book works fully. So you're kind of like, that's probably like the biggest pet peeve. If you walk in not reading the anime, you're gonna have questions, because not watching the anime and watching the anime, you still have the same questions, because they don't explain shit. They don't explain what it does, why it's there, how it come to be, what the hell Ryuk is. They don't explain any of that shit. So whether you saw the anime or not, you're just not gonna know from this movie at all.
I mean, maybe they do explain some of that in the anime. Like, they do explain what Ryuk is in the anime.
I know. I'm just talking about the movie.
Okay, the movie. Yeah. Okay, no, okay. Because you said if you saw the anime, then it wouldn't matter. But
no, that's what I mean. Like, if you saw the anime,
they changed it so much that it wouldn't really matter. Like, it's not. Okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. Okay,
it's not like what the Death Note does in the anime and what the Death Note does in the movie are not the same thing.
Two different stories.
They have their own rules and everything. So I don't know.
It really feels more like two different universes of the same story. Like, hey, this is what happens if it was in America, and this is what happens if it was in Japan. The Japan story is a lot more interesting to me. But one thing I want to say though about the end, since we're talking about the hospital, is how and if, because it doesn't, since it's cliffhanger, I don't know if he even knew if L knew how the note worked. Because all he saw, like, for all you know, if I'm as smart as L, all I'm thinking is you just write a bunch of people's name down for later. But he's figured, all right.
No. He said, okay. So I think his thing was, and it's supposed to be hinted, he talks about in the beginning of the movie that Kira needs to kill with a name and a face, right? So I think that's why he kept looking at the names and looking at Light's face. So he was kind of getting that, but it kind of like goes to like the anime. L figures out shit based on the smallest fucking clues.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept that with the movie, but that normally doesn't work in movies. It works in like TV shows
Definitely,
and
so
stuff. It does not work. It does not work in movies. People are like, so you just looked and just figured it out?
Right.
And then they left it on a cliffhanger whether he's gonna use it or not. He was conflicted, but he was
so weird.
So I don't know. Like, I can get over that. Like, I started separating it after a while because I was like, this.
Yeah, you kind of have no choice. You're right. Like, there's a point in the movie where things get so absurd. In fact, where it even starts, it gets so absurd that you just literally turn it into two things. But my brain kept like trying to like rationalize things.
To me, it got absurd when he showed me the book.
It got absurd to me way before that. Oh my god, it got absurd to me when
I didn't care about the different setting. I wasn't like mad that his mom didn't exist or his sister. I didn't care about any of that.
That's right.
It's when like he found the book and everything was fine, and then he like practiced on the bully. That it's kind of like resemblance to the scene in anime where he practiced on those guys who were hurting the girl, and then when he showed her the book and she touched it, I was like, okay, this must be Misa then. But he actually likes her. I'm like, okay, I can get past that part. I don't really care because I like Misa in the anime, even though she's crazy. I actually like her. But then she didn't see Ryuk, and then I was like, wait, we going left because now she's coming up with ideas that he would, and then he's not as smart as the character, and then I was like,
his character is definitely split into three different. Yeah, his character definitely split into a bunch of things.
Because it was like, oddly enough, they made the three main people. Well, besides L and the father, Ryuk, Mia, and Kira, oddly enough, were a weird combination of Kira. Yeah. I don't know why they did it like that. Maybe to make better translation. But we can do, like, Americans have, like, super geniuses. Like, the guy in Psycho. What another killer? What is that movie? He plans everything. What is it? It has Gerard Butler and Jamie Foxx in it.
Oh, was that the one who's in jail?
Yeah, and he was able to control everything.
Yeah.
We have like characters like that. That's exactly what Kira should have been.
I agree. Should have been. He was Mia
was more like that side than him, but she was still emotional and not really. She was a made up character. She was like slightly Misa. With the evil side of Kira.
Some inspiration of Misa there, but they never went. They wanted to condense, right?
Yeah, and I admit you probably can't include her.
Yeah,
you probably can't.
The story would have to be about. It would take more than the movie to explain that kind of story because one, you got to go through the entire origin of the story versus Mia's Shinigami in her book and the whole Death God Eyes thing. I don't know if he's got that far in the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like all those kind of things. Like the thing can get fleshed out pretty much. Like it's only 37 episodes for the anime, but if you really wanted to, you could flesh that out a whole lot.
Yeah, like here's one thing: for them to include Misa, she already has to start.
Yeah. Like,
what they would need to do is that you'll see people dying and stuff, and they won't really know, because she's smarter. When she used it,
I agree.
It was very, like, sparse. Like, she would do it, like, in intervals. He did it back to back to back. And, like, that would be happening. And then he would get a note, and then things start happening, and then we'd have to, like, do it from 2 points of views. To do it in a movie form, you have to literally do it from 2 points of view.
I definitely think you're right about starting after the origin. I feel like you got to fill in the origin like, a lot of comic movies do these days. Like, hey, this is where we're at in the story. We'll fill you in on the details later. I feel like this movie wouldn't get hurt by that.
Yeah, it needs to do that. I mean, the anime kind of does, because it definitely already exists before he finds it. Someone else has it before he finds it.
Well, yeah, but shit really centers around his story, though. So you're right, that's happening.
But that's exactly what the anime does.
Yeah.
Like, all the mythology exists, but now we're meeting Light, who goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this movie should have did. If they wanted to include Misa, it would have to be two different points of views merging. And it'd probably been a better movie if they did that. But they would have to get a really good actress, even though I did like Mia. But she's not. She's too mean to be Misa. Because I never thought Misa was mean.
Nah, she never had that kind of spirit in her.
No. But
like you said, there's two parts of Kira, really.
It really was. They split Kira into, like, multiple, like, characters. Which, I don't know why they did it that way. Because it's very possible to have him be all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually, one scene that was kind of, remind me of Kira from the anime was... What was the scene? Where L, it was after the conference with L, right? Or either the one after the conference with L or one with his father. No, it's definitely the conference with L. Light gets a little bit in his feelings. He walks up on his dad really creepy, and he sits down and he changes. That's kind of like Kira from the anime, and I like that scene too for that. Even though his creepiness is too obvious. Like, when he was walking up to Mia, I don't know why Mia thought it was okay when he walked up to Mia.
Yeah.
She should have realized, your man a little sus.
Mm-hmm.
But, honestly, I don't see anyone else who would want him besides her. Because he's kind of crazy. He seems kind of okay.
Apparently she's
crazy too. That's why they work.
Yeah. But I don't know, there's two levels of crazy going on here.
They both know. They both wrong. Like, the moment he was killing 400 people in, like, what, a week? 2 weeks? I don't know how long.
Yeah, something like that.
It didn't seem like L was even there that long. He crazy just for that. She crazy, too. Her elaborate way of killing... I do think that it was more realistic for how she killed the agents than it was in the anime.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. But it shouldn't have been her. It should have been Light. Mm-hmm. But again, they split Light into two characters, so I guess it made sense in their world. Like, in this movie, she would have been the one to do it over him.
Yeah, most certainly. Because she was willing to kill his dad, so definitely.
Yeah. So... And
there was a point where in the anime, like, hell, he even thought about killing his own family, just in case, like, someone got their hands on the book. Because Ryuk, in the first two episodes, or something like that, says... that little thing he made where he hid the book. Hey, that thing could burn the house down. Worth kind of not getting anyone's hands on the book. And what was crazy to me about that was how fast he says it's a lot easier to kill my own family than it is to have someone touch the book. Because yeah, you're right, but holy shit, dude, take a little bit of time to think about that answer. Damn. Which goes to how sane he was in the anime as compared to this. But I don't know. That's the one thing I will give about it being more realistic. I feel like weird saying this, but it actually is more realistic because I feel like if a teenager did get it into their hands, they would be a lot more careless than than Light would in the actual Death Note.
Yeah, he was more of a teenager in this movie, so I'll give this movie points for that. Right. Like, it doesn't matter.
This is what, yeah, definitely. I can't even say any more on that for real because that's really worried about what happened.
All right, it looks like we basically shit on this movie, but like I'm gonna give my closing statements for this movie. I think it's a good watch at home if you've never seen the anime. I think you'll be able to watch it. You'll probably have questions, but it's a decent movie. Like, I wouldn't say never watch it. So bad. Now, if you are a fan of the anime, I wouldn't even waste my time. Because it has nothing to do with it. Only thing in common is the Note and Ryuk. And that's it. Everything else, the characters change. Some of the characters don't even exist. And, like, no. It's not even set in Japan. It's set in Seattle. And I get why they did that. Anyway, but I wouldn't recommend this, like, remake. It's not a remake. It's a, what is the word?
Adaptation.
Thank you.
I can't really call that a remake because, God, I know Japan already has their own live-action version of this, which probably I haven't seen, but I'm pretty sure,
probably better. Probably better.
But as far as closing statements, I would say, tell you what, if you have not seen the anime, I'd actually recommend you see the movie, then see the anime, just to see, like, because in my honest opinion, I feel like it's one of the best, like, 37-episode animes, out there that can tell a whole story and, like, explain lore around things and actually have engaging characters. Like the story does change around a lot in like 37 episodes, but it's still like concise and enough for you to figure things out. If you have seen the anime, if you're curious, sure, you're just gonna sound like us. Like, what the fuck did they do? Don't go in there with a very, 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 very open mind.
Why did you whisper into the mic like that?
Because I was up in the mic, man.
All right. Well, guys, I think we've talked enough about this movie. You get the idea. Yeah. Netflix, don't do this movie again. No part 2. I know you left on cliffhanger, but please don't do Death Note part 2.
Yeah, we don't need that.
We done here. So, guys, you can find us on iTunes, on Podbean, on SoundCloud. You can leave comments. You can follow us. We have a Facebook as well, so you leave comments on our Facebook. They're all Echo Underground Podcast, so it's pretty easy to find. On Twitter, we're Echo U Podcast, because, you know, the whole name would be too long. And so you could tweet us, let us know what you think. We're definitely going to post this episode on Twitter anyway, so you can probably listen to it there. And you can email us at echoundergroundpodcast@gmail.com so we can get your opinions. Let us know, what do you think of Death Note? Are we too hard on this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Did we like?
Were we not hard enough on this movie?
Are we not hard enough? Like, was our grades too high? Was it too low? Was it more decent to you? Did you enjoy it more? Let us know what you think, because we want to hear from you guys. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
See ya.
Bye.